Carlo, your host, and our co-host Brenden here. And today, what are we discussing today, Brenden?
Today we're discussing your journey for a change.
For a change. I know.
Yeah.
Bound to come.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we'll start with your upbringing. How was that like in terms of your education, playing sport, your relationship with food, all that? Tell us all about your journey.
So my upbringing was an interesting one, to say the least. I had a really good upbringing when it came to having everything provided for me. My parents worked really hard, particularly my dad worked really hard to create a life where we get to go on holidays and we get to have all the food on the table, toys for Christmas, and times out. He really made sure that we were really looked after. And so as a consequence of that, then we were able to then go to the best schools as well. I was at Parramatta Morris Brothers, which is a very well-renowned school in Australia, and I got to do my education over there. And then in terms of my development as a child, I played lots of sports. I was able to actively get involved in football, or what some people would call soccer, swimming, cricket, AFL, basketball, tennis. I got to try everything.
United Nations of sport.
Yeah, United Nations of sport. Yeah. The one that I didn't get was rugby league. Mum wouldn't sign a permission slip. You know what? You know what? That was her decision, and you know what? That's completely fine too. So I still got to play touch footy at school and was tagged. So you know what? That was as close as I was getting, and I wasn't too worried. Then just with my upbringing, as well, the dynamic, the relationship dynamic, it grew really well. Yeah. And then at the same time, as human life is, there are turbulences and different things that go on, and so that really then it made a mark on me, because from when I was a kid and those times arose, I wasn't very clear on what exactly was going on. And so I did study a lot. I sort of just withdrew myself a little bit. When it came to my studies, I was playing sports and doing all the good things that I got to do as a kid, but at the same time, it felt like that I was just going through the motions rather than actually experiencing it for what it was. And so that's mostly on me. And then now, I say that in hindsight, but while I was there too, it was just interesting to see that where I am now, all those experiences have led up to this moment.
They all led up, don't they?
Yeah, and so I think what I used to think was that I just want to forget my past, and I don't really want to bring my upbringing, but then I realized it was my upbringing, and so it's a part of me.
That's what makes you you.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And so that was a real game changer for me, when I really thought in those terms of just it's my life and not something that I should shy away from or I should hide. And so it's been able to help me relate to my family and my friends and myself too, and just build the building blocks to get to where I'm going. And so and in terms of relation to food, you asked, was I was a lover of food. I would just eat, and having parents and grandparents, food was of surplus.
Yeah. Dish after dish.
Traditionally at Nonna's house, it was dish after dish after dish, and at Babinyetta's too, it was something else. I've got Italian and Czech heritage, and so they really, really love their food. And so I use food as a tool, to cope with stress that I was putting myself under, whether it was due to school or whether it was due to indiscretions that may have happened that I didn't really stand up to, as in I didn't bring it forth to either people's attention or my own attention, and I chose to ignore. And so rather than addressing the situation, I would always just eat food. So like when I was in my teenage years, like I wasn't fat, but I'll rephrase that. I wasn't obese, but like I was like skinny fat. Like so I didn't have a lot of strength. I was athletic, like I could run. I walked to school every day from 7th grade to 12th grade, but
up that hill.
Yeah, up that hill, as you know. But however, because of my usage of food to cope with my problems, like it wasn't proportionate to the amount of athletic activity that I was doing. So I wasn't the most genetically gifted person, but also at the same time, like all that eating didn't really help me either. And so then like that did end up transforming like later on. But if I was to summarize my childhood, I got everything that I could have gotten, and I'm really proud of it.
Oh, that's awesome. It's really sort of contributed to who you are today, because all them little things that gives you perspective of what other people experience as well. So in terms of, we'll delve on to your career in fitness. What made you want to pursue a career in fitness as a personal trainer? Like, did it just come from like outside influences, like mentors, or like did you see like other people doing it, or did you just, I don't know, online, or what made you want to do it?
Every cliche male answer ever, heartbreak. So I started to understand a little bit about fitness, like when I was around 14, 15 years old. Like we had a weight set and Dad worked in the gym, so like he was a maintenance manager for a big gym chain. And so then some of the equipment just wasn't having its day anymore, so he ended up just repairing them and then buying them. And so we had a lot of equipment at home, and so we would have fun with it. Like we would just experiment with it. Like Dad showed us like how to use it like properly, and so that we didn't really hurt ourselves. And then we just went to work. So just exercised in the garage. And then that just kept on going. It was really inconsistent. Like I was at school studying, and then eating, and like doing other things other than exercising. So I never really I developed this really inconsistent pattern of feeling sorry for myself, eating, exercising, to then overcome the guilt that I felt about feeling sorry for myself and eating. And then that just continued to perpetuate for a decade minimum. There's still remnants of that like within me right now, but in saying that, like that's something I'm working towards overcoming. And so then fast forward, I just graduated high school, and I start working, I go to university. Like the gym became more of a prevalent point in my life because of the advent of social media and gym bro influencers and things like that. So like I just scroll through the stuff on Facebook and YouTube. Like they were the bigger ones back then. Instagram didn't come around till around like I was like late in high school, and still like there was still like a baby sort of social media platform. So anyway, like there were two guys that I went to high school with. They were twins, and like they were the most jacked people I've ever seen in my life. Like they're like influencer like guys, and they're 17, like 17-year-olds with the bodies of 26-year-old like bodybuilding IFBB pro athletes. Like I thought they were like gods. And so anyway, then post high school I'm working, and then I hit up this chick, we start talking, we really hit it off, but then things just sort of went up and down, like it was a really volatile relationship. And so what I didn't understand then as well, that I was infatuated with this chick rather than actually like adoring the woman for who she was, or providing in the relationship friendship really. We weren't in a relationship,
Yeah.
but it was more of a intimate friendship. It was just up and down, and like I said, I didn't do a lot. And for years, I often blamed myself for the things that I didn't do. But at the same time, like around the time where like we were having like serious problems about it, not just each other, but like where we were in the friendship, I started doing PT because I was sick. I wanted to do the PT course because I was sick of working at the bottle shop. And so when everything just turned south, like I was just really devastated. Like it completely just shook my world. Like it divorced my naivety from reality. So like I had this naive thing that things couldn't happen to me. Like I was very well looked after, I was very well protected. I didn't really grasp the real world because everything was sort of given to me. Whereas the lady that I was seeing, like she had a completely different reality. And instead of like embracing her for her, like I tried to fix it. And then she got really shitty that I tried to fix it. And then sort of just put it back on me to say that, hey, you need to really work on you. And so what that showed me was that I was a problem. And what happened then was that I just dived into fitness. Like I was just training ridiculously. I was eating ridiculously little during the PT course, as well as just reading volumes and volumes of book on personal development. And all of this was just so that then I could overcome what had happened. And so, but what really changed for me as well was that I realized that I can use this career like to be like a coach, not just a personal trainer, but like a coach, like to sort of coach people into living a better lifestyle. And so I wasn't living the lifestyle that I was coaching either. And so for years as well, like there was this person that preached all these things but didn't practice all these things. And so I was still hurt from that separation and of friendships with her, and instead of actually feeling the emotions that I was going through, I was intellectualizing it. And so what that means is that rather than feeling the pain, I was just explaining the pain away. And so by explaining the pain away, I didn't feel like that the pain was in vain. It had meaning, like it had to do with something else. And so I continued to get clarity on different insights and perspectives on how things have happened and what it could have meant, rather than actually going, hey shit, like this happened, like, and I'm really sad for you and I'm sorry and I really hope that you're okay. And this was a conversation that like I wasn't having with myself. And so what that did in turn was that when I was having other conversations with people, I'd just go into depth, whether it be about their life, whether it be about their problems, whether it be about this or that. And so like that was my approach to coaching, like to get into depth of the people so then they can sort of overcome their own barriers. But at the same time, it was off the back of all the intellectualizing that I've done. Like at the beginning, like there was a feeling for the people that I was working with, but at the same time, like it also just felt like a training session. And so when I started working with you and I started working with others at the gym that we trained at together, then that's when it really hit me, like the importance of taking care of your clients and actually conversing with them like beyond the gym. And so the reason I've stayed in this for as long as I have now is just pure persistence. Like I wasn't making money, like I was for a bit, but then like it was fluctuating like you normally would when you first start a business or an enterprise or an ambition. But just sheer persistence, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to stick this out because fitness and coaching is what I love and what I know. And I know that I can help people, but for also years I just didn't believe it because there was this feeling that I was an imposter, but at the same time I didn't really feel what I was going through. And so I just used my brain rather than my brain and my body. And yeah, like that was the real driving force of my career, like not just in fitness but in coaching, like as a whole, because like I see myself more than just a fitness trainer. Like I see myself as a coach who impacts people's lives, not just in the gym, but they also get help in developing certain skills so that then they can go outside those four walls of a gym and the exercise equipment and apply the skills that they learn, so that then they can make a difference in their own lives, whether that's with their families, whether that's with their relationship with failure or fear or whatever it is. And so, but going and doing that with clients, like I was doing that like with myself as well, more so now than previously. And so I think for me the last 7 years, that from that initial heartbreak to now, like there's just this metamorphosis of me who was a coach that was just spinning my wheels and not really getting anywhere with the coaching and everything else, to making a bunch of money doing like upfront PT and doing a whole bunch of hours, meeting a bunch of people, helping them. But I was always like about them, and so, but I didn't really concentrate on other things as well. It was just the PT, it was just ignoring the pain, it was just making sure that I slept all right that night and another day. And then other habits came up as well, like before PT, like there was alcohol, but then after PT started and I quit alcohol, which we can talk about later, then I started getting stuck on pre-workout or social media or television or even books. Like I would, instead of doing the things that I needed to be doing, I'd just go out and I'll read a book, and then I'll intellectualize the book. Oh, this is a fantastic book. Like I feel like my life has changed. And then as soon as I put the book back on the shelf, it was exactly the way I was before I started reading the book. And then for a long time, like adult content as well, like was something that I've struggled with, and also just doing anything outside of feeling what was going on inside. And so just being able to put together a system like for myself where I can do the things that have been necessary has been challenging, because all of these things that I think about and all of these addictive tendencies that continue to come up each time something gets put in front of me, then that procrastination, that not getting the thing done, then feeling guilty about myself for not getting that thing done, then going, hey, you know what, I'm going to be better, and then doing exactly the same thing that I was doing. Like it wasn't working. Like I haven't been diagnosed, but it might be ADHD or it might be ADD, but at the same time, like I don't label myself that either. Like I don't resign myself to that, because to me, like despite like people actually having like ADHD and OCD and things like that, like I don't believe that's me. And so what I do is like I separate the idea that I have those things. I just say, look, I have tendencies, where like people that suffer from ADHD have similar tendencies. So to me, like that particular label doesn't belong to me. Like I feel like that the label that does belong to me is someone that's working on themselves. Like I'm just a lifetime learner, or I'm a lifetime student athlete, because like I train but I also study. And so at the same time, due to mobile devices or due to me not taking action, that's has led me to have these tendencies where it may be of similar context to a person that has ADHD. And so with all of that, like I've navigated through working at multiple gyms, doing multiple jobs on the side as well as my coaching, to arrive at the point that I've arrived to. And so like it's been an absolute roller coaster, but at the same time, like I wouldn't change it, because like I've learned a hell of a lot from what I've studied, but also I've also learned a hell of a lot from the people that I've worked with, such as yourself, and also from me just recognizing myself and what was going on internally. So like that's a really long-winded answer, but
yeah,
that's...
you answered the question.
Yeah,
definitely. We'll talk about that. You mentioned alcohol. ever since when I sort of first met you, you mentioned that you didn't drink at all, and to be honest, then I thought, like, who doesn't drink? But since then, I've sort of done the same myself. I hardly sort of drink at all myself either, and I feel real weird when I do drink. I don't feel right at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, what sort of you said sort of heartbreak was involved in the alcohol. What I'm interested to know is what made you sort of stop drinking alcohol and what difference it's made to your life.
Funnily enough, once again, a woman.
Really?
Not this off with alcohol, but a different woman. So anyway, when I was 17, I started drinking. So it was just recreational drinks, then the odd party, but then I started getting invited to more parties, and everyone was drinking, so I'd start drinking. And then I justified my drinking because everyone else was drinking. But then I also realized like how good I felt and how the pain in my head, like of all the thinking, just went away when I'm drunk. And so I kept drinking. And then after high school, I went to schoolies, which if you don't know, which I'm sure people know, is that when you go after school, celebrate that you finish school. So I went to Queensland, I got butt drunk for all 7 days that I was there. I came back, I dropped my bags, I went straight to a music festival. Then I got into the hospital for a heart condition because of all the alcohol that I drank, with the very little food, the very little sleep, and the very little water that I drank. And so for 2 weeks they ended up diagnosing me with pericarditis, and this is prior to the most recent events of pericarditis. So I was way ahead of my time. Anyway, that didn't stop me, because then I got a job at Dan Murphy's, the bottle shop.
Yeah, to make it a bit better.
Yeah, and so anyway, like there's a big, depending on where you work, there's a big drinking culture at work. So people aren't drinking at work per se, but like after work
and social. It's like a social thing. It's all inbuilt to the thing, like real estate. That's right. Similar sort of thing, and
that's right.
Business, a lot of business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing too was that, like for me, like it wasn't as social for everyone else, like because I felt socially awkward. Like I felt like that I had to drink to fit in, and so I would use alcohol so that then like I could talk to people, and I could talk to people, but at the same time like it was more of a superficial conversation. But then I just felt this deep urge to like connect with people at a deeper level, but I didn't feel like that I could do that sober, so I needed to get drunk. And so there have been countless of times where alcohol has gotten me into trouble. So there was this one time I was at my work Christmas party, and I got so drunk that I told the store manager how he was a shit store manager. In front of the store manager.
That would have been good.
And in front of the state manager. And then I had a 2-hour meeting with him as to why I should keep my job. So alcohol has gotten me into trouble. But again, it still didn't stop me. So from 17 to 20, I was just drinking like most weekends of the year, sometimes even during the week, whether it was for birthdays or just for nightly dinners and things like that. But like alcohol was quite a prevalent thing in my life during that period. And so I went to university at Macquarie Uni, and I was studying and I was having a hard time adjusting to uni life. And so after class, I'd spend most of the time either at the gym or at the bar. And so if I was at the bar, I was drinking, and then I'd just show up to class like with alcohol in my system. And then like if I was at the gym and then I went to the bar, then I'd feel really good after the gym, and then I'd feel really shit after the bar. So it was just one of those things where it was just a perpetual cycle of doing well, not doing well, feeling guilty about not doing well, doing better, and then saying that I'm going to do better, and then go do the same thing that I just did. So it was just a constant cycle of that. And then I went to Europe, I got drunk for 3 weeks straight, come home, and still kept drinking. And then to sum it all up, it was, again, cliche, it was New Year's Eve, and It was New Year's Eve 2017, where I'm there completely drunk off my face with a female friend of mine who I did like and I was attracted to, but I didn't have the gall to tell her. Then I told her, well, I'm never drinking again. And she's like, yeah, bullshit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm never drinking again, right? And so it was initially out of spite.
Yeah,
like, because she was just telling me, no, you're not going to do it. And then I was like, you'll see, I'll show you, right? And so for the first, I would say 6 months, it was just purely out of that, right? But then different things happened as well, where like I was in a mindset where I was reading these books and I was working on myself, because this happened as well, like after the heartbreak thing. That was like in October of 2017, and then like New Year's Eve 2017, like I stopped drinking. So like all of these events are pre sobriety, and so now I'm reading these bunch of books. I'm working out a whole lot more. Like I'm keeping my health in shape, because I didn't have this sense of worthiness and feeling like I was like worth people's time or a relationship or anything. And so I just thought, you know what, just get healthy, get in shape. Like it was basically like a fuck you to the world. And so, and at the same time, like I was doing all of this and I was just like, I don't feel like drinking anymore. And at the same time, like there isn't people around me drinking so much, and so there isn't really a need for it, so I just cut it out. And so then as time went on and I got a job at the Bavarian as well, the bar, I just continued, just in my mind, I was just like, I told these people that I don't drink, so I just need to show them. And so it was just a matter of personal integrity. I was like, I tell people that I don't drink, I don't drink. Yeah. And then that just continued for the last 7 years. And so now I just tell people, look, I haven't drunk alcohol for 7 years. So now it's more of a story, and it's more of a just an inspiration, where if someone looks to stop drinking, then I'm not going to tell them, well, you just need to fucking stop drinking, because that's absolutely ridiculous. And it's hard, especially at the beginning too, and especially if you've gone through a lot worse than I have, because I'm certain there are people that are struggling and that have been through worse than I have, but that's not to say that they can't do it either. It's just, to me, it's more of a matter of, like you said earlier, it's intent. And so if you have any intention of stop drinking, even if it's slight, like gravitate toward that intention more so than anything else, and that's with any addictive tendency. And so like there are a bunch of tendencies that I'm still working on at the moment, and for me the turning point was where I was just like, I have goals to be a coach, I've got goals to be someone big and someone well known in the fitness industry, in my life as well. Like my life has significance. If I just continue down this path where I'm just constantly drinking, that's not going to happen, and I might not even make 25. And so I just decided there and then, like, even though like it was mostly the chick that inspired me as well as myself, like I said, that was the turning point, because I thought to myself, well, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to be able to enjoy what I currently enjoy. And so that was that.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I want to talk about your current goals. What sort of goals do you have at the moment? More or less fitness-wise, but also in general.
So my general goal is to buy a plot of land in the middle of nowhere, in front of water, have a big family, have a big house, be able to do a whole bunch of things, and just leave humanity behind. Like, so I'm of the premise that if you leave me alone, I will leave you alone. And so, not that I want to be alone, like I don't want to be left alone. I love people, but at the same time, like my energy has boundaries. And so for me, working towards being able to delegate all the tasks that don't inspire me, so then I can do the tasks that do inspire me, which is coaching, and which is having conversations like this, so that then the people that I do serve and that I do help, I can make a positive impact on. And so when my business rises and does well, as you will know because you're a part of it yourself, then we'll be able to have these opportunities to do different things. Like I love adventuring, like just going on random spontaneous trips, whether that's in the mountains, whether that's in the beaches, whether that's jumping out of the sky, whether it's jumping off a cliff, whatever it is, like I embrace life, and to me, like, life is for living. Like, there are moments where I'm just like, oh well, fuck, I'm just sort of stuck and I don't really want to do anything, but that's completely natural. Like, because to have this adventure, adrenaline filled life like 24/7 isn't me. It might be some other people. Like, it's not to say that's not possible, but I like to wind down. I like to read a good book just in the rain, or just watching a sunset with a good book in my hand. But I also just love jumping out of the sky. So like, there's just a different there's a different time for a different thing. And so my goal in general is to be able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, why I want. And so that then I can embrace all of which life has to offer, because it is beautiful. Like, I've just been given this opportunity to live, and well, why not take it? But also at the same time, in taking that, there also needs to be an element of giving. And so my giving is the coaching, my giving is my presence in relationships, my giving is my financial contribution to different things that are important, whether that's my day-to-day life, or whether that's my business that I'm developing, or whether that's investing in my clients to do like different courses, or like different seminars, like for strength or for nutrition and things like that. So at the moment, I understand that you're doing your own nutrition course, but for me, my idea of developing my business is having clients, and they're doing so well and we're doing so well that I can pay for those courses and those seminars for them, so that then they're getting inspired, and they might become coaches, or they might just live their lives better because of it. And so and then fitness goals in general. Fitness goals, essentially, I wanted to compete in bodybuilding for a long time, but I realized that my competing in bodybuilding was just for vanity, and it was just so that like I could just show people up and just step on stage and sort of just masquerade this idea that I looked good and I felt good when I really didn't feel good. And I've been like declaring skinny, like I was prepping for a comp during COVID, and then COVID cancelled the competition. But like, I looked good, but then at the same time, I didn't feel like that I looked good. I thought I looked like shit, or I hadn't done enough, or like it wasn't just worth stepping on stage with the package that I had, because I mean, what was the point anyway? And so all of these stories just played up in my mind, and like I said, I realized that like bodybuilding, I'm gonna step up on stage like at some point in my life, so that then I can step up on stage. If I decide that I want to pursue it as a career, perhaps, but I don't believe that'll be the case, because my main focus now is traveling and then getting into a relationship. And so with myself, with my clients, with my business, and then with a potential partner. And so I've been going out a lot more, having like different people I meet and having a lot of fun. And so fitness now to me is being able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, and being actively able to do so. And so whether that is going out on a Friday night and dancing all night because I have the energy to dance all night, or whether that's going on an adventure, like whether that's on a hike or skydiving or things like that, being physically able to do that. And I also just want to look good naked, like, and feel good naked. And I feel like that means that that's being like jacked and like having the physique that you mostly see on social media, but in my own proportions, whatever that looks like. I'm still discovering what that is. And so being able to just identify exactly who you're looking to be is so important. And so I just have general fitness goals. Like, my main priority at the moment is travel and business. And so for me, fitness, it's not on the back burner, it's an everyday activity, and it's a daily requirement for me. And so I feel as though that with the fitness being the staple and being the foundation in the beginning, then just evolving every day and doing the best that I can every single day and getting that 1% better is by consequence going to help me look like who I want to look like meanwhile being able to do everything else that I do as well. And so it's really just being honest with yourself and going, hey, look, this is exactly what I'm focusing on right now. It's not on the back burner, but at the same time, I'm not putting as much commitment than if I would if I was a bodybuilder and doing bodybuilding shows. It's more a daily commitment to getting to the gym, doing the session that I've been prescribed so that I can get the results that I'm after later and looking really good. So that's been the testament for me when it comes to fitness right now.
Yeah, well, building off that daily requirement, what's prescribed, what would be your favourite workout? And paired with that, what would be your favourite meal?
Okay, so I love a good back session. Like, I think
You've said that before.
I think I rate a solo back session, but if it's a chest session, it's got to be with a gym bro. Like, as in, if the two of you are there training chest, like, one, you're more inclined to like lift heavier because like you've got that support, but then also at the same time, like, the chest pumps are incredible, not to share. And so like if you're there with your bro and you've got a mad chest pump and you just be flexing in the mirror the whole time, that's fucking fabulous. Like, if that's you, awesome. If that's not you, that's completely fine as well. Like, it just depends on you. But for me, like, I know, like, when I train with you chest and like we get PRs or things like that, like, we're talking about it like for the next 45 minutes, like, and we're talking about other things as well on top of that because it feels really good. But then if I'm by myself, like, it's back. Like, I love training back. And then legs, like, legs is a different story altogether. Like, at the beginning, like, I was a psychopath where I was just training legs 3 times a week because I felt that, you know what, I can just overcome my emotional pain with physical pain, and so then the physical pain will just mask the emotional pain. And so I'm just like, all right, this is great. And so I've got a really strong squat, I've got a really strong deadlift, I've still got skinny legs. So I was just wondering, well, what the hell's going on? And so I realized that the amount of volume that I was doing training legs wasn't proportionate to the amount of recovery that I was getting as well as the food that I was eating. And so I was training all this time, but I still looked the same. And a lot of that has to do with not really planning and crafting a vision as to what my end goal does look like or my ongoing goal looks like. And so I didn't do that, and I just sort of just buried myself in exercise. And now a leg day is more so like PTSD, but once I do get into the rhythm of training legs, I really do enjoy training legs. So I feel like one good 45-minute session of legs with a gym bro is like a really solid leg day, where my favorite is back. And then a favorite meal is staple steak and potatoes. Like, if it was my last meal, like, my last meal would be steak, like rare cooked steak with baked potatoes and veggies, like, or just sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. But look, meals for me are really simple. I do enjoy processed foods. They're delicious because they're supposed to be delicious. But at the same time, like, now eating healthy again, like, because my relationship with food was definitely more what's the word I want? It was more not volatile, but it was more yo-yo than anything else. And so there will be times where I'm just eating really well, and then for a few weeks I'll just be pumping KFC, like, just eating it because. And so, like, just addressing my relationship with food has been really helpful for me, and discovering like what's important and what's not. And so my favorite meal is that steak. Like, if I go to a pub, I will eat steak. If I go anywhere that sells steak, I will eat steak. Like, it doesn't matter where it is. Like, steak is everything. And if I don't have steak, I'm pretty upset. So but otherwise, like, mum's cooking. If you live in a home, you cannot go wrong with mum's cooking. Like, it always hits. And if you know that mum's going to be cooking something delicious and you're going to be eating a lot of it, if you've got a set amount of calories, don't overindulge in your calories early in the day. Overindulge in mum's cooking, because not only will you love it, she will love it too. And then you just love each other. And that's the way it should be. So training and nutrition, like, at the moment, it's just been steak and potatoes, chicken and potatoes. So just a carb diet right now. And then there will be nights where I might miss some meals either because of work or just because I've trained and haven't allocated my time well. So then I'll just have what Mum's cooking.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that sums it up. Thanks, Carlo, for telling us all about your journey so far, and thank you guys for watching the latest episode of the Embodying Excellence podcast. Have a good one, guys.
See you later, guys.